Minority Caucus. It's a Monday evening, and as usual, we're here to tell you the stories that you want to hear. The people of Ghana have grown accustomed to this program over the last 4 years, and we are now in the last week of Minority Caucus and then in the run-up to the elections of 2012. As you can all tell, the nation is just bating its breath, waiting to kick out this government. But tonight we're discussing the issue of NPP's campaign 2012. And with me to do these discussions are one woman that all of you have missed a lot, Madam Oboshi Sai Kofi, a leading member of the NPP campaign team. Good evening, Madam, and welcome.
Good evening, Nana Kofi. Good evening to your viewers and listeners.
And then Nana Yao Sapong, Communications Director, NPP UK. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Yeah. Okay, now let's start with you, Nana Yao. You were here not so long ago, and we discussed some very pertinent issues.
That's correct.
What's the feedback you've been getting from the UK, and how's the feeling like?
Well, thank you very much, Nana. We have more individuals from the UK, and not only the UK, other European countries coming down for the elections, including individuals who even did not register, but they have a major interest in the future of our country. The fact of the matter is, we've had 4 years of pain, 4 years of torture, 4 years of corruption, 4 years of stealing, naked robbery, and that's got to stop. There was a time when Ghana had a bright image abroad, but now, with the sort of image that we have in this country, this culture of doomso, since for example, I came, where I live in Adenta, we've had the lights off for the last six days. It goes off, then it comes on, it goes off, and it comes on. This is not a kind of image that we should sell for our country. If we say we are the Black Star of Africa, we should prove it. Under this government, I don't think so. But I know in 4 days' time, the people of Ghana have a date with destiny, and we will change this government willy-nilly.
Okay. On the issue of doomso, I've heard somebody describe Ghana as the largest discotheque nowadays due to the issue of doomso. But Madam Oboshi Sai Kofi, we've missed you. Where have you been?
I've been here. I've been working in the private sector, as you know, doing my media work, and also running a couple of restaurants that are a bit of a surprise to you because I haven't invited you there.
Yeah. And I think that's unfair. I hope that you invite me very soon. I'm kind of hungry almost every day.
I've also been doing a little bit of traveling with my father on his reproductive health assignments around the world. Okay.
But you're fit and we're ready to go?
Oh, I've been ready to go for a long time. I mean,
okay.
This campaign has been on for what, about 18 months now, really?
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. Now let's get to the issues. I want us to, look at the NPP's campaign and how we ran it over the last 18 months. First of all, Madam Oboshi Sai Kofi, what has been the difference between the 2008 campaign and then this current campaign? Any major ideas? What's the major difference?
Well, the fundamental difference is that in 2008, we were incumbent. And now, we are coming from opposition. So that is a basic difference in both the campaign style, the approaches, the messages, and the whole thing is crafted a little bit differently. It's different advertising and campaigning from opposition compared to what you do when you're in government.
Okay, that's what you...
There's a little bit of a handicap when you're in government, and there's a little bit of incumbency advantage also, and you have to balance both. When you're coming from opposition, you have to just make sure that you're defending the rights of the people, making sure they understand where their government is not doing the right thing or not able to supply them what they need, and offer them a decent alternative and make sure they're going to buy that alternative.
Okay. Nana Sapong, you have been outside most of the time, but how do you see the difference between the 2008 campaign and now? Well,
there is a difference. In 2008, like Oboshi said, we were the incumbent, and you should bear in mind that we took the lead. Nana Akufo-Addo hadn't taken part in any national elections. The late Professor Mills had stood elections from 2000, and it was his third election. But Nana-Addo, on his first time, he took the lead. He took the lead. We went for a second round. Well, it didn't. We lost. But it was a very close margin. And what we did was what we call the 3 R's. We took stock of our defeat. We reflected on some of the things that got us to lose the election. Then we decided to rebuild the party to make it stronger, and that led to us expanding our electoral base. We had one of the largest internal presidential primaries in Africa, for that matter, and which Nana Addo emerged victorious.
Yeah.
And now we are ready to recapture. And, you know, like I said, I'm very confident we are going to win this election. Nana Akufo-Addo has run a very diligent campaign. He has toured the length and breadth of the country. And like, you know, he said, we are coming with programs. We are not going to be making those promises that our opponents in the NDC are making. We are coming with constructive programs that are going to better the lot of our people.
Okay. Now that you've gone there on the issue of, you know, the message and the manifesto, for instance, I was going to ask you a question that what do you see to be the difference between, you know, our messages then and now?
Well, there's not much of a difference, except that now, you know, we have what, you know, the world's changed. The world's moved on from 2008. And what people need now are practical programs to better their lot. For example, our Zongo development program, which is which is an affirmative action program to better the lot of our brothers and sisters who live in the Zongos. I mean, for example, our housing policy towards the Kayais, you know, it's an innovative policy that would improve their lot. Our free senior high school program, which I know for a fact that we would implement it if we are elected, when we are elected into power. It's not
quick correction.
It's not
I like that. I like the quick
question.
correction.
It's a question of when. Because you see, when you go out into the countryside, you know, I've just come from a part of the Brong-Ahafo and Ashanti region over the weekend. Yeah. And when you speak to the people, our people on the ground, even NDC members, you know, they will not admit it to their party people, but even their own members, they believe in free senior high school education. Because if a leader is prepared to commit resources to educate your children, to give everybody an opportunity to go to school, to senior high school, you know, that is a very brilliant policy. We have our neighbors in Burkina Faso, they've implemented it. The Ugandans have done it. The Kenyans have done it. You know, where I've come from in the UK, we have secondary school is free. So if Ghana, we're producing oil, we're producing gold, we're producing all these resources, why can't we implement something to give our children a better future? And that's the difference between MPP and NDC.
You saw the message quite well. Auntie Oboshi, anything to add? What have been, let's focus, what have been the main campaign messages?
Well, the main campaign messages have been things that can make life better for the majority of the people of Ghana. Not just for a few, not just for half, and not in 20 years, but now, starting from January 7th. And the campaign messages have been crafted in such a way that they have resonated with the people. People talk about the free SHS being the major plank of the campaign, but it really wasn't planned as such. The campaign was built around providing jobs, quality health care, and free SHS as part of a larger education program. But the free SHS resonated so much with the people that it became the main story almost by default. It wasn't planned as such. It carried its own life. It had its own dynamic. It grew by itself. And then what you found out was that the ruling party also kept responding to it. And everything they did, every message they sent was about free SHS. Either it can't be done, or it can be done, but in 20 years, or then later, well, it can be done well in a few years, or it can be done for a few people. The whole thing has been a bit strange. And I think they have actually helped the free SHS platform grow and accelerate. And now it's something that anybody you ask on the street, what is the MPP message? They remember that free SHS is a part of it. That is not to say that there is not more and more and more to this message. The message is a visionary message. It is a message of hope to all Ghanaians. If Nana Akufo-Addo is given the mandate on the 7th of December, this Friday, we are going to see major changes in the way things are done in this country. It is not going to be business as usual. We're going to go to a form of governance that everybody will see. And at the end of the day, Nana Kofi, you clap for our government.
At the end of the day, I will clap for this government, and I know this for a fact. But I'm walking away from this session with these words, that it is not going to be business as usual. Ghanaians will see a difference in their lives. We'll take our first break now and come back to continue with a very genial discussions. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Tonight we've been discussing the NPP campaign, what we have done so far and the difference between this current campaign and that of 2008. So far we looked at, the issues of the campaign itself, what the difference has been, and we've identified the fact that in 2008 we are running from a point of incumbency and now we're running from opposition. We've also looked at the messages. We've come to understand that this is not just, our manifesto currently is not just a set of promises, but it is actually programs that are ready to run. Auntie Oboshi, I'll come to you on this issue, advertising and the mudslinging. For the very first time in the history of this country, the opinion of many is that we have an opposition party that is doing the job of the incumbent, and we have an incumbent that is doing the job of an opposition party, in terms of the fact that you have an opposition party that is putting out policies, plans, and programs, and we have a governing party that is rather criticizing the plans and the policies of the opposition. This has played out in the advertising. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it should let you know that times have changed and opinions have altered. What has happened is that the people of Ghana have become so discerning and so exposed that everybody is analyzing everything. I mean, you pick a group of 10-year-olds and they can tell you what policies and programs each party has advertised. They can tell you that you have free SHS and this and that, and you ask them what the policy of this other party is, and they say, oh, yes, with the funny twisting of the mouth. I mean, I'm not sure about that and what it means. Maybe it's just fun. I don't know. But yes, when you work for a person like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you find out that even in the planning stages of the campaign, he does not accept anything less than a meticulous policy outline as to what he's going to do. You can't come to him and say that, oh, we have this program for free SHS, so we think we should put it in the manifesto. No, it has to be analyzed. It has to be costed. You have to tell him, how many days it's going to take in phase 1. Has the feasibility been done? And all that is done before he opens his mouth and announces anything. That's why we say that we are selling programs and not promises, because these are things that are ready to roll.
I'm smiling because some of us have been at the receiving end of what it is that you're talking about.
You know it.
Yeah, okay. Now, to you, Nana, is it a BKK policy? Is it a program? What is it?
In fact, Nana, I never knew our president had joined the ranks of Bobokala and Co. with that IDB, that thing that he did with his mom. A country where even, we are struggling as a government. You've not even provided within our health services enough dental facilities. And yet you make fun, twisting your jaw all over the place. When, we have people suffering with our streets. If you go, for example, if you have I was checking the Labour Commission report regarding unemployment. We have almost 600,000 young people with no jobs. This government has not, since for the last 4 years, hasn't said anything. They said they created 1.3 million jobs.
1.7,
1.7. When we ask them...
Rough estimates, when I'm to do an estimation, is 1.8, because 1.72.
And when you ask them where these jobs are, they can't tell you. They have fooled the people for so long, and they've been allowed to get away with it. And instead of telling us what they've done or showing us what they've done, all they're doing is they're telling us that, for example, our policies are not going to work. They are even spending huge sums of money to run adverts saying that opposition policies will not work, without they telling us what they are going to do. Governance is a very serious business. Nana Akufo-Addo is committed to this country, and to be honest, he's far more serious and far more diligent and ready to govern this country than the current regime and their leader. Idebi Keke. How can Idebi Keke be a policy? As someone said, Mubedi bi Keke. Did you just come and chop some money and just go away? Look at the issues that we have with Alfred Agbesiwoyome. Yeah. 51 million Ghana cedis. And a sitting president can sit there and allow this money just to walk off. Ministers pay this money and say, I didn't realize it. In most countries, such a government would fall.
Let's home in again on the advertisement and look, for instance, at Minister Otable's running battle with the NDC. What do you think of that whole debacle? It's political season. You're supposed to be selling your messages. You take somebody's voice and then you run. What do you make of that whole debacle?
Well, I said, the last time I was here, I said this party has a history of harassing the clergy, going back as far as '86. Don't forget, we were in this country under the PNDC when Reverend Amwako lost his life under mysterious circumstances, and that the religious churches at that time, you know, they were made to pay taxes. Do you understand? So they have a history of harassing the clergy. So the issue with Otabil was not a surprise. You know, this is a citizen of Ghana who has freedom of expression and freedom of thought, and yet individuals can go and cocoon themselves somewhere in Cuckoo Hill or whatever they call their hideout and just come up with all kinds of spurious stories about an innocent man and expect Ghanaians to vote for them.
Yeah. Okay, it's interesting. But Auntie Oboshi, sorry.
I think it was just badly handled by the NDC. I mean, I know they issued a statement that the campaign team had nothing to do with it, etc. But I think they should have come out strongly and said that, stop it. Whatever it was, you know, a message doesn't take a long time to spread among the people.
Yeah.
Everybody had heard the message. It had been spoken about. They could have ended it right there and still achieved whatever they thought they were going to achieve with that message. So I think it was a mistaken strategy to allow it to continue, and then to allow various top guns and representatives of the party to talk to it after it had happened. There should have been a silence.
Okay. Now, you ran the Ministry of Information before. I have personally had a lot of problems with the current structure and operation of the Ministry of Information. Is that how you used to run it?
What structure? I don't know how it's running. I never hear the Minister of Information. I always hear his deputies. I don't know whether he's performing, you know, different duties. So I don't even need to comment on that, because that is not how it was running in our time, and I don't know how it's running now.
Question: does the MPP believe in propaganda?
No, we don't have a propaganda outfit. We don't have anybody who does propaganda. And even from President Kufuor's time, even when you wanted to react to propaganda, you had to bring everything for clearing. And then the question was, can you substantiate it? Are you sure? Do you have evidence about this? If not, don't put it out. Even if we had people talking very, very loudly and very critically and very hurtfully about us, President Kufuor would always say, cool down. And I'm seeing the same thing with President-in-waiting Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Yeah, that's good. Now, we've just been given an insight of how, you know, certain key ministries were run under the President J. Akufo administration. What do you think of that? Compare that to now. I am concerned about a situation where we've had 1.7 million jobs put out there in official publication by the Ministry of Information, and then the Minister of Employment and Social Welfare goes to Parliament only to say that it's a landmine and he knows nothing about it. How do you think the NDC has handled governmental, you know, communication over the last 4 years?
Well,
bear in mind the fact that it affects government's credibility one way or the other.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, it's for me, it's been a disaster and also disrespectful to the Ghanaian people, because you see, when someone is appointed a minister or a deputy minister, you know, it is our sweat and blood. You know, our taxpayers, the taxes that we pay that are used to pay them. And we don't get any accountability from these individuals. If you quite remember, somewhere in 2009, when this deputy minister, Okujetua Blakwa, when he was appointed, he spent, it was 35,000 Ghana cedis just to renovate his office. Yeah. People think we've forgotten, but we've not. You know, there was no accountability there. Then we had an occasion where a deputy minister, you know, gathered journalists in a room and said they should call a sheep a cow and call a cow a sheep, you know, telling our eminent journalists to tell lies, to disseminate information that is not true. You know, he was heard on tape and he admitted it. You know, we have a situation, as my senior colleague said, a minister is appointed. I quite remember when John Tia was appointed. You never saw him speak. You know, we used to call him the invisible minister. We didn't even know whether he existed or not. You know, it was always his deputies speaking. Then we had a situation when we had, you know, when we had the stadium lights going off. Yeah, yeah. We had a head of communications dismissed. Could you just believe that? You know, you don't know. Sometimes you don't know who is in charge in this country. A head of communications can dismiss someone at the Electricity Corporation of Ghana, and the president knows nothing about it. You know, ministers issue statements. You know, a deputy minister can be negotiating for judgment debts to be paid. A deputy minister of information, becomes a judgment debt contractor?
Nana Sapon calls it a total disaster in governance communication over the last 4 years. We will take our break now and come back to continue this very now turned sad discussion. Hi, welcome back to Minority Caucus. My name is Nana Kofi Opondamwa. And tonight I have with me Madame Oboshi Sai Kofi, leading member of the NPP campaign team, and Mr. Nana Yao Sapon. Let me withdraw that. It's Nana Yao Sapon. I can't say Mr. Nana Yao Sapon. Communications Director of NPP United Kingdom. Let's come back on the issue of voter education. In 2008, for instance, if you remember, spoiled ballots were more than 205,000, and the difference between President Mills and Nana Akufo-Addo was about 40,000. What are we doing differently in terms of voter education?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe the issue of spoiled ballots was a very critical issue. And when we were going through the rebuilding process, and the party began a system of voter education within our ranks, what we've done, especially in the last week, is to educate our members and our supporters. And also join in our house-to-house. We've run a very rigorous house-to-house campaign within all our constituencies. Yeah. And what we've done is to educate the public and to show our members and supporters that, for example, if we are voting with our thumb on the ballot paper, we should make sure that we do it horizontally and make sure
zone two style.
Yes, exactly. It's very, very important.
It's this way.
It's very, very important that not this way. Yeah. I hope the cameras not this way, but this way. We make sure that we thumbprint and we put it at number 3, and not at number 1, number 3.
Or any other number.
Yeah, or any other number. It's very, very important. The second thing is we should also make sure that when we have the ballot paper after we voted, we make sure that it's it's stamped and it's endorsed. If it's not endorsed, then it means it's not valid. And we should make sure and we should cross-check and make sure that it's signed, it's stamped and endorsed. It's very, very important that we make sure.
Auntie.
Yes, Nana Kofi. It's very important. So we are running advertising on it right now. Key things, let's all be peaceful. Let's all go there quietly, get in line, wait for your turn. But then critically important, the ballot paper must be torn right in front of you, turned over and stamped right in front of you. Apparently a huge proportion of the spoiled ballots last time were spoiled not because of the ink as we thought, but because their backs were not stamped. And previously, sometimes they would try and pre-stamp them. This time, there's going to be no pre-stamping. So you have to see it stamped, and then, like my colleague says, make sure that it's endorsed in ink, not in pencil. Yeah. Apparently, in some places, they try and endorse them in pencil so that they can apparently sign it later. But no, that's no longer going to be accepted. So we've put out those adverts that are teaching people how to stamp, as well as doing their zone to stamp, which will also help.
Zone to voting.
Yes, and then the parliamentarians are on number 2, and the presidential is on number 3. So it's a bit confusing. So we are saying, look for the elephant. When you see the party symbol with that big elephant that is coming into power, just put your thumb right there. Then wipe off the ink, fold it the way the EC is teaching us, lengthways first before you put it into the box. Make sure you're not given two ballot papers. And these are all things that we are putting out there. We have put out hotlines. I hear there's been an accusation that the hotlines are for sending thugs or mercenaries. No, the hotlines are so after people have talked to the police, they can inform us and we can build a register of occurrences and incidents around the country, so that if there are any incidents that are going to require, for example, legal involvement, we have a team of lawyers standing by who are going to say, okay, if this is going to be challenged in court, these are the steps you need to take, even on the day and at the time. So all these are things that we are doing because we are headed for a very clean, clear victory. And we want a victory where there will be no challenges and where everybody will be sure that this is the true mandate of the people of Ghana.
Okay. Now, there's an issue. And Auntie Oboshi, we've monitored the hotlines. Most of the people are worried about the fact that, yes, if the elections are to be free and fair, the end people will win. But what are we doing to ensure that the elections are free and fair? A lot of people have a lot of concerns. What do you say to that? Have we taken enough measures?
Well, I think there's a limit to the measures we can take. And I think truly we have done everything that an opposition party can do. For the last year and a half, we have been taking systematic steps from fighting for the use of the biometric registration system, from making sure that the verification system is going to be legally insisted upon, from making sure that the legislators get the CI 75 written out in such a way that every person understands what the law is as it applies to the electoral process. The rest, we're going to have to pray, and we're going to have to be very vigilant on election day.
Okay. So, Nanaya.
Yes, just to add to what Auntie Oboshi said, vigilance is very, very, very important, because once you vote, yes, the EC and the EC has a directive that you've got to be 100 meters away from the voting booth, but that's not to say you should go. We should all be there. You know, we are MPP generally is a very peaceful. Our members, 100% are very peaceful, very, very law-abiding. You know, we don't engage with violence. Is not part of our game plan. Unlike certain political parties, we believe that if we are going to have a free, peaceful, transparent, credible election, there can be only one winner. But we still have to be vigilant. We cannot be complacent. We have to be on our toes to make sure that the right thing is done. And once we finish voting, we should all follow the directive of that 100-meter mark, stay where we are, make sure that every ballot is counted, you know, and we don't have a situation where we have one turning into 100 or 1,000 as has happened in the past. We make sure that one is one and two is two until we get to the final point. And as we proposed some time ago, and I hope the EC, if they are listening, they'll take it seriously, that, for example, with the biometric machine, if it breaks down, voting has got to be postponed. It's a common sense measure. I'm very surprised our opponents and other parties are kicking against it. But
Nanaya, have you been impressed with the EC's preparation so far?
Well, the jury's still out, but you know, like I said, we are a party of law and order. The Electoral Commission has the mandate to run elections. Of course, we had some concerns we've raised under IPAC. I believe our leaders, our representatives of IPAC, and even I quite remember the last time I raised the issue that the national chairman's press release in September, which he expressed concern about the provisional voters register, and he's been vindicated. But we hope that the EC, Dr. Farijan, he's run elections. This is going to be his 6th election, and we hope that, you know, we are going to have a free, credible, transparent. Transparency is very important, because you see, if there's no transparency, then it means there's a potential for electoral fraud. And with this current government, the way they're behaving, the way, you know, we've had instances of, which I know we're going to come to that, instances of machinations here and there. I mean, you heard what happened about some vehicle traveling with ballot papers without escorts. These things are not really helpful. But we want to put our trust in the EC, and we will wait and see how things unfold. But we will be vigilant, we'll be ready, and we will be ready to make sure that we win this election.
Auntie Oboshi, people still complain about the infamous Yabuating tape. Your take?
I'm very unhappy about government's handling of that tape. I'm unhappy that there has not been an independent investigation. I'm unhappy that after various and several calls on President Mahama to step in, intervene, and ensure that that tape is investigated properly and a proper report put out for the people of Ghana to understand, there is still no action on it. I think that is totally unacceptable, and I believe there is still time for him to intervene and do something about it.
Does that grow the culture of impunity?
Well, it's unfortunate. This issue regarding Yabuating, you know, I'm not surprised he's been allowed to get away with it. This party, since he came into office, we saw what happened at Chereponi at the by-election. We saw what happened at Etiwa. Where Anita Disoso, the National Women's Organizer, became a racing driver and nearly rammed our party members. You know, people got injured. About 7 members of our party got injured and had to be rushed to hospital. We saw what happened in Akwetia, Baba Jamal, a by-election, you know, bringing some citizens from the north in raffia skirts to come and scare people. I mean, this sort of impunity, how long is it going to go on? Look at what happened in Winneba recently. Our parliamentary candidate was having a rally. Then members of the NDC, wielding cutlasses and machetes, went to attack the rally. Individuals got injured. The NDC youth organizer was arrested. What has happened to him? He's gone scot-free. What did the parliamentary candidate, who is the Minister for Transport, what did he say? Nothing. He's silent. He's quiet. So you see, this gives cause for concern, and that is why we have said that, you know, we have appealed several times to the security agencies to be on top, or to be on their game, and, you know, to be on top of affairs. Because you see, I mean, we are a peaceful people. We cannot afford, we are not police officers, we are not the army. We can't take the law into our own hands, you know. So we appeal to our police officers and our security personnel to be on top of their game, to make sure that these things don't happen, because we want a peaceful election.
We want a peaceful election, and so we are appealing to all the referees in this game to be fair. Let's take our break now. Hi. Okay, so you can now join us on this discussion on the usual numbers. The text console is 1760 all networks, and you can join our discussion on 030-2211-70124. As usual, I'll repeat it, 030-2211-70124. So I get the impression, speaking to you, that the messages have gone down well with the people. We've been very strategic. We've sold our message to the people. Auntie Oboshi, we would expect that all of these will culminate in a very beautiful victory for the NPP.
That is our hope and our prayer. But we have to finish hard. We still have 2 days more of campaigning. Or is it 1 day? Yes, we have 2 days more of campaigning. And we have to finish hard. We have to make sure that the community engagement messages especially reach far and wide. And you know that there are some places where these mass media messages don't reach. So we have to ensure that going all the way down to the polling station and the ward, our people are out there engaging the community, telling them what their rights are. A lot of people still don't know that if you spoil your ballot, you are allowed to request another sheet.
Okay. I would have to break you here. Hello, Kissinger from the Volta region.
Hello, Nana.
Yes, boss.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to have you back.
Yeah. Nana.
Yes, sir.
I thank you this evening for the program that you are doing. And you are a panelist.
Yeah.
Nana, do you know that now NDC people doesn't get a chance to steal us in a voter region? So they are trying to adopt some strategies. As of now, we are here. They brought some macho men, put them in a hiding place, telling them that if that 7 on the 7th voting day, they have to escort us. If something happens, then they will beat us.
Okay.
And we hear this because we say that we are not going to allow them to kill us again.
Okay.
That's where they want to dig that.
Thank you very much, Kissinger. We would investigate this and follow up on it. Hamza. Hamza from...
Hello.
Yes, my brother. How are you?
Hamza from... I'm fine.
Yes, sir. Hello.
And this is my first time of calling to this program.
You're welcome, my brother.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the whole of Ghana is aware of what is happening right now. And we are all quite convinced everywhere, even in Tulu right now that I am, the signals are clear
Yeah.
that MPP is going to win convincingly. I think we should have that confidence. And we shouldn't relent on our, we shouldn't be complacent. That's what I'm going to say. We should finish it hard. That's the message I'm giving to everybody.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let's finish this hard. We can do it. They are going to do all they want to provoke us, but we will not allow them to get through. It will never happen.
Amen. It would never happen, inshallah. Theophilus from Accra. Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm fine.
You have the floor.
The campaign is going on all right, but there's something that is missing already.
I'm listening.
Where are our Gary workers and the cement, the key schools? Let's make comparison. My brother, when President before was going,
Yeah.
this was being sold about 65. In the 65,000, nobody was buying. Do you know how much it is costing?
Yeah.
It's now 1,700. Let's go in for those comparisons, and then for me, I'm only interested in what goes into my stomach.
Okay. All right. We will take your advice on board and see what we can do about it. Zina from Tamale. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, a female caller at last. How are you doing? Okay. That was sad. Very, very sad. But, Auntie Boshi, you're speaking to the issues. I mean, if you can address us on the issue of how to handle the last few days before we move on into the elections.
last few days, we all have to get ready for this election. We have to continue to educate people around us and tell people around us how to go about it. We have to tell people that they must not be frightened into staying home. We need a huge turnout so that we can get a convincing victory. Everybody must come out and vote. Look for your voter ID. Hopefully you'll find it. In case you don't find it, don't forget that you can still go and vote. We don't want there to be too many of those because it will slow the process down. We want people to come out very early so that by midday, middle of the afternoon, we should know definitely that most of the people have come out to vote. Do the right thing, come out, vote for Nana Akufo-Addo on the elephant, and we are just cruising to a clear victory.
Nana.
Well, Nana,
Yes, boss.
for me, ever since I arrived from the UK, the signs are clear. When you speak to our market women, our teachers, our taxi drivers, the ordinary people in the streets, the unemployed, the youth, our elderly, our women, the signs are clear. They want a change, and they want a change for the better. 4 years ago, they were promised a change, but it has now turned out to be what we will call a Sakawa change, where there's nothing, a change where we are now having lies, we are having power cuts, we are having no money in our pockets, we are promised houses, we have our deserts. There's nothing, NDC has nothing to offer. MPP is the party of choice. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has a vision for this country. This man has given over 30 years of his life in public service serving our country. He has a wonderful vision for this country. I am appealing to every Ghanaian, whether you are MPP, NDC, PNC, CPP, PPP, whichever political party that you belong to. I have come from the UK to vote for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I would like you to join me. Let's take a decision for the future of our country. Let's vote for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to become our next president, and inshallah, we will have a better country to live in.
And now, the issue of peace. Tell the people your peace message.
This election, I know it's going to be a very peaceful election. Those who are training macho men, especially from this government, training macho men in Jimeni and other places, as they themselves admitted, it's not going to work. Ghanaians are very discerning. I was very happy with the call of the Assistant Commissioner of Police today, Mr. Awuni. He said, if you are using a motorbike or an unlicensed car on voting day in suspicious circumstances, you'll be dealt with. That is the sort of security message we in MPP will associate ourselves, because we are peaceful people. We don't have motorbikes We don't have cars. We don't have mowags. We are not going to hire people and put them in pickups, as some people are planning to do. And this is a clear message to Yawuatinjang, Anita Disoso, and others who are plotting mayhem. The world is watching. The international community is watching. Ghana is a peaceful place. But most importantly, we don't want any Laurent Gbagbo situation in this country. Please, John Mahama, if you lose, accept the results and go quietly. Because there's only one verdict. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is going to be the winner.
Okay, Auntie Oboshi.
We must pray for peace, but we must not only pray for peace and call for peace with our words, but we must act for peace. And the acting for peace must come from our leaders. They must take clear actions that show that, yes, we are for peace. If somebody is wrong, they must be punished. If people are doing things that are not in congruence with the peace message, those people must be shifted aside. I expected to see some people moved away from their positions in government by now. It has not happened. And I'm disappointed that President John Mahama has not been able to take some of these strong actions which would have sent the message that, yes, this president means what he says. Regardless of that, the day is here upon us. Let us all go without fear of intimidation to the polls. We trust that our security services will protect where people need to be protected so that people can exercise their mandate freely and fairly and in a congenial atmosphere. We are peaceful people. My colleague has said it. That is what we want. And we want at the end of Friday for everybody to say, oh, surprise, it was a very peaceful election.
We have one Ghana. We are one people, united with a common destiny. Ghana is not going to go to war because somebody wants to stay in power. That is the clear message that my panelists today, in the persons of Nana Sapon, Communications Director of NPP United Kingdom, and Madame Oboshi Saikofi, a leading member of the NPP campaign team, have sent out to the people of Ghana. Why should you vote for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? I'll give you a reason. When I say National Health Insurance Scheme, do I need to convince you that a scheme like that was put out there in the public domain? You have your cards, you've seen it, it works. When they speak of 1.7 million jobs, who believes that in this country? Do you want a government that has phantom projects, mobile projects, projects that hang in the sky and perhaps become visible only when we sleep? Or you want a government that will give you real development? Do you want a government that is results-oriented, one that is not interested in giving out figures and facts cooked up from whatever source just to try and convince you? Or you want a government that actually does the things and you feel them in your pocket and in your lives? If you want results, vote Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. If you want noise, vote the rest. Shakespeare would say, it's all sound and fury signifying nothing. We mean business. Good night.